In Dungeons and Dragons, long rests are lame. I've never been a fan of them. Ultimately, rules as written, and the adventuring day mechanic feels very restrictive and how to think about how many different encounters you can have per day. My creativity and freedom as a dungeon master, be able to heal automatically from just a little rest and magically full healing, lots of different stuff. I have a whole video where I rant about this and propose my system. And in this video, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of that so you get the whole package all in one, and give a bunch of different variant options that I have came up with for Alkhanar's Almanac to be able to share with you guys and get your own rest systems dialed into the way that you want and be able to change them dynamically under the certain circumstances that you're in. Because what if long rests work different when you're inside of dangerous dungeons than you are when you're above ground just doing your normal thing? So here's my homebrew system to wake up the rest system. First, starting off with short rest, I make the least amount of changes here. All I do is take the 1 hour short rest and dial it down to 10 minutes. It's usually just something that already happens anyway. It makes more sense to me for players to lick their wounds, rest and recover after taking a 10-minute break instead of 1 hour. That just feels like an eternity and just messes with the pacing and realism in my mind. Try that in your games. Talk to your players. Maybe 10 minutes feels, no, that doesn't make sense. Go to 30 minutes. Mechanically, there's no difference here. This is just a pure timing change. Everything, you recover your short rest as usual. You can spend your hit dice as usual. 10 minutes just feels a lot better. And I almost forgot this too. You can only take 2 short rests per 24 hours and 1 long rest per 24 hours. But just clarify. And then in the big picture now, we have long rests. Rules as written takes this 8 hours and breaks it up into 2 hours with 6 hours. And then now it gets a little clunky. I talk about it in my video. Link for that will be down in the description. But I break this up into 2 4-hour blocks that makes it much easier to run off and track Night's Watch and all this other stuff. And if you have a party of 3 or 4, however many, and you have 2 Night's Watch shifts, they can split up and evenly, maybe have some role play conversations around the campfire. Great role play opportunities for character development and stuff. But I have mechanically removed the full heal that you get where you just recover half your hit dice. That's great. But then you also full heal the maximum hit points just for kind of sitting down and resting for a little bit of hours. You could be within inches of your life and now you're just magically full healed. So Cleric Spell Heal is 70 hit points worth of healing, and resting is more powerful than that. That takes away some punch from healing, in my opinion, and takes away some value from hit dice, in my opinion. If you let them recover their hit dice, sure, fine, no problem. But they should spend hit dice during long rest as well. So either it's the beginning, the middle, or the end of their long rest. They have their 8 hours. They can, all right, we're gonna take a long rest, just like a short rest. They can have a little mini spin their hit dice thing at the beginning and recover their short rest cooldowns. Great, that's fine. How many times have characters tried to take a long rest and then did we get a short rest or not? You basically have a mini short rest in the beginning of every single long rest you take. Of those 8 hours, you get your short rest in, you can spend your hit dice, whatever, because you haven't recharged them yet, because the recharge happens in the middle. So halfway after the first 4 hours Night's Watch, halfway through, you recharge half of your hit dice and you have another opportunity to spin them again. You could get them back and spin them immediately if you would like. And then at the end of the whole thing is when you get your long rest cooldowns and all your spells back. I absolutely love this system. That's why I want to share it with you guys. It makes sense. And I love whenever homebrews, in my opinion, make more sense than the rules as written. In the rules as written, you have 2 different systems and how they work in different things. In this one, you have a short rest that happens at the beginning of your long rest. You take your long rest, recover those hit dice, and spin them in the same way that you did the short rest. And then at the very end of everything, you get all of your cooldown stuff back and could spend hit dice again if you're waiting till the end for some reason. And this gives you a very easy to run off 2 Night's Watch that you can have characters actually role play during. And I'm gonna throw out my first variant here for exhaustion stacks. You could run as a Dungeon Master. If they take a long rest, they remove all levels of exhaustion, or they just remove 1 level of exhaustion during a long rest. Or you can have it where they have to sleep through or rest through both shifts of those 2 4 hours to be able, they can't take a Night's Watch if they want to be able to remove exhaustion stacks, and they rest through the whole thing and then they can remove 1 or 2 stacks of exhaustion. Levels of exhaustion. I keep calling them stacks of exhaustion for some reason. It just makes sense to me. But anyway, this brings me to a new rest system called a full rest. We have a short, long, and a full rest, which is a full reset, appropriately named, of all of your abilities, all of your health, any sort of maximum health restrictions that have been wearing you down, lots of different opportunities here. And this gives you more creative freedom as a Dungeon Master to have certain things reset on a full rest or a long rest or a short rest. But a full rest is an actual rest inside of a safe place. And that is up to you as a Dungeon Master what is deemed safe. Normally, the default for this for me is an actual city with a bed of some kind, and you're actually truly resting and being able to recover yourself from these big adventures you've been going on. But my players just reached a halfway point to a contact. It's this little outpost in the middle of nowhere, and they found their outpost after a long journey. And this I'm considering a full rest. But I add on top of full rests, and this is another option as a Dungeon Master to give or not to give, is a temporary hit point boost during a full rest. So if you spend and you get a full rest inside of a city, nice and safe, you get a nice cozy little bed, you get a certain amount of temporary hit points. A lot of times I could have it be that each player rolls a hit dice, you gain that many hit points. I might roll 2d4s and I gain that many hit points. You can base it on the proficiency bonus. So right now, that's what I did last time. My players were level 2 proficiency bonus, so I rolled 2d4s. They got that many temporary hit points whenever they took their full rest before setting out on a big adventure. But whenever they found this little outpost in the middle of nowhere, I did not give them that temporary hit points, and it felt right. But again, I'm giving more sliding scale and adjustments for myself as a Dungeon Master to issue out rests, short, long, or full, for my players. And this feels so much better whenever they're out in dungeons and stuff. They actually are getting reduced down, and if they continuously push day after day, back to back, dealing with encounters, dealing with challenges, dealing with dungeons, it's actually, they feel the wear and tear. They're thinking of strategically about their resources, their healing potions, their healing spell slots if they want to use their spells before they rest. But then if they use their spells before they rest and something happens halfway through, now they don't have any spells, they got to think. And spending hit dice during those long rests actually matter because you don't just get magically full healed. Time out. If you guys like all this homebrew stuff I have for you on long rests and rest systems in general, I have an entire expansion called Alkanar's Almanac of all things. I haven't talked about it in a while. I've been working on it day in and day out to bring you guys a true expansion to 5th edition. Dungeons and Dragons themselves are about to release some sort of the next thing at D&D. I got a step ahead of them, and mine's going to be coming out. The last day to get your hands on the copy of the physical hard book is December 31st. At the end of this year is the last time, this is the only run I'm doing of physical copies of the book. After that, it's going to probably be around March-ish or so, whenever the PDF is ready. That'll be available on the website. You can go to the website down in the description and join the newsletter to get alerted whenever it comes out. I don't send stuff all the time, I promise. But there's going to be the digital version available then, but the physical book deadline ends December 31st. So if you want your hard copy before December 31st, go in the link in the description. There's a link to the late pledge manager and backer kit, and you can join and get the book for yourself. And in the spirit of Alkanar's Almanac, I'm going to be having the PDF broken up into different little parts. And my first little break of the part is my rest system that's available right now on my website. It's from Alkanar's Almanac. Like I said, I've been burning away at this thing. The whole spirit of this book is to be able to give you guys options for your game, to be able to tweak and change the parts of it that you want. So this is the rest system. If you feel like you love your rest system, you probably aren't even watching up to maybe this part of the video then, but then that's fine. Run your rest system the way that you do at your table. Maybe the rules I'm about to go into in a second here, these little variant options might be able to tweak and change your game to the way that you like it. I don't want you to run my system. I want you to run your system and maybe have some inspirations from what I'm saying here. And what's in the rest system PDF down in the description. Now let's get back in there and get into those variant rules. All right, now for these variant rules, the video down in the description about my long rest video, it's one of the most popular videos I've made, so this is my follow-up. That video has a whole rant about all the different things and why I've the thought behind the homebrew, right? But the one thing that I have changed over time from evaluating and refining this process and the heavy playtesting I've been doing for Alkanar's Almanac and my own game tables and other people's is I say in that video that I have a 6-hour long rest of 3 hours and 3 hours. That feels a little short, right? Just in the same way I said short rest of an hour feels too long, bring it down to 10. I have just taken that, like I said already, and bumped it up. So it's a full 8-hour rules as written. I'm staying as close as I can to the rules as written for that 4-hour or the 8-hour long rest with 4 and 4. So the first rest rule variant is called a quick rest. It is taking the rules as written. You have your short rest as normal, long rest, normal. Everything else, you can add a full rest, sure, why not? But a quick rest is a very quick rest of only about 10 minutes or so, and all you can do during that time is spin some hit dice. That's all. Super simple. And again, I'm trying to give you guys rules that you can use at your table. Maybe you like some of the concepts I was saying, but you want to keep those short rests, and you don't think warlocks and monks and all these things, recharging things on short rest, you want to make sure it's an hour so it feels more like they have to spend more time to be able to do that. But you want to be able to heal better, you can give them a short rest, still have the same 1 hour restriction on recharging your short rest cooldowns. That's fine. and you can introduce a quick rest. But on this same homebrew note, I would challenge you as a Dungeon Master to really think about if you think your Warlock would break the game if they recharge spells on a short rest of only 10 minutes, if you choose to use that homebrew or not. Or maybe they recharge half their spells. Be able to tweak around stuff to be able to match your rest system to your player's ability recharging. And speaking of that, my second variant rule that I'm adding in right now on the fly is adjust to your players' different abilities. If you have an elf in the party and they need meditation, they require less time. Then during those they get their full rest benefits right here, just from those 4 hours. Wow, they get their spells back, they get everything back. How cool is that? They still get to feel rewarded and unique for being able to be an elf and have those certain racial abilities to be able to take advantage of. Maybe you have a monk in your group and these 10-minute short rests start to be a lot and you're like, oh, they're recharging their key points so quickly. I don't know. Have an open communication, as with any homebrews, with your players that you're testing this out, and you might be able to tweak some things around, have them be open to that. So maybe the monk only recharges half of their key points during a short rest because they're easier to take. That feels right, and it still keeps the monk having to choose when they use their abilities. And this third variant rule, I've always loved ever since I started this channel and started talking to the community and you guys. I love whenever I have homebrews. I've been working on this whole Alchemist Almanac thing. I have all these different things working, and I see comments I get in different videos or live streams or whatever, and you guys are talking about some of the things that you've done and taken and ran with the system that I've created, and it's some of the things that are actually also in this book, and it's cool to see us all come up with some of the same ideas, and it makes me feel awesome about the different stuff. So anyway, this variant rule is max hit dice healing. Because this system is heavily reducing the amount of free healing that you get from those magical long rests auto full healing you, since you've taken that away, maybe you don't want to run a gritty game, even though I would say the games I run are not gritty by any means, and I do not use this variant rule, but I think it's very appropriate for an easier setting of healing, especially if you're introducing this. You always heal for the maximum amount of your hit dice during that long rest. Instead of having to roll it and add your constitution modifier, it just is a fighter with their D10 is 10 plus their constitution every time they spend a hit dice during those long rests, not full rest, still got to roll for those, but during long rests, you get the maximum amount. So it's a little bit more controlled and understanding. It's still strategic, but it's not as much dice rolls for those really bad rolls. And now they're really in a bad spot. But an extension of this homebrew that I actually really like, and I might try this in future games and stuff. I'm already in the middle of the campaign. I want to change things up now, but I've already made a note of possibly doing this. Is if you are doing a long rest in some sort of normal circumstance where it makes sense in the middle of travel or something normal, then yes, you get maximum hit dice whenever you spend maximum healing from your hit dice. Sure. But if you're in a dungeon and it's dangerous, you're going delving deep down in some sort of ruins and there's danger around every corner. Not anymore. You don't get maximum hit dice anymore. You're in a dangerous location. I want to make you feel that dangerous location with the mechanics. You now, in that dangerous spot, you got to roll for your hit dice, and you change the type of luck based on where they're at. And I think this is awesome. All those problems that I've heard Dungeon Masters talk about of my players keep long resting in the dungeon, which I feel you on this. This little change, maybe they don't do that. Maybe they have to be like, well, we'd have to run and have to retreat. And then now they have time and we don't want to retreat. So we can, it makes them think and makes them not maybe do that thing that's really annoying. But maybe for you, it's not annoying and you want them to get a full long rest in there. And they talk about this and maybe I ask you at the table, would we be reduced in this way? And you have a moment as a dungeon master to think, do I want to be strict on them in this moment and make it more difficult on them? Or do I want to be more open? Like, no, y'all be able to get max hit dice from this. There's no problem. So the mechanics empower you to be in control of the type of pacing and the type of feel and experience you want to give your players. For the fourth variant rule, if you want to be, again, a nice dungeon master and be easier on them with this healing, you can have, and remember that 2 rest systems, right? You can give them full hit dice recovery on long rest instead of only getting half back, which fits perfectly into the system. You have your 2 4-hour blocks. After that first 4 hours, you get half your hit dice back, and you can spend them if you want then or not to. And then, this is what part's cool, after that second 4 hours, you've now completed the full long rest, you get another half of your hit dice back. So you got half back again over the course of the full long rest. You've gotten all of your hit dice back and you can spin them again. This keeps the dice rolling. If those people that like rolling dice, that's what we do here, right? Instead of being easier on them and getting max healing from your dice, you just get twice as many hit dice, which will be more healing. As I'm thinking about this one right now, I might not do this because a lot of different things I like to do. I like to have mechanics where people can spin their hit dice, and getting more hit dice back might mess with that for me. And I have a really good balance of how I feel with this current system of what I've proposed as the system that I run. I have a really good pulse check on that system, and too many hit dice being introduced in that, I might not do that one. But like I've been saying, we're all different here, and I want you guys, maybe you want to give your players more hit dice because you like them to have more and be able to roll more and spin more and all that kind of stuff. Then do it. This 5th variant rule is the most recent added into Alkander's Almanac. I've been testing this and doing this multiple different times in my homebrew campaign that I do on my second channel. Link for that will also be down in the description. But this variant rule is hit dice erosion. Just like you have those monsters that deal some sort of evil vampiric damage and stuff, and you reduce your maximum hit points. That's a really scary thing for your players. They have 50 hit points and they take 10 damage, and they also have to reduce their maximum hit points by the same amount. Oh no, right? They still have a maximum of 50, but just temporarily it's been reduced down to 40. Oh no, that's a scary thing. I'm applying that same rule to your hit dice. So my players right now, they're level 3, which means they have 3 hit dice. They are traveling. During certain parts of travel, if things go bad, different rolls are happening, different little skill challenges. If a player fails a skill challenge check or fails some sort of check out during travel, maybe there is a punishment, a ramification of some kind from the wear and tear of travel or whatever. Maybe it's a monster. They reduce their maximum hit dice by 1 in the same way that I just talked about. So my players have been traveling through this long travel, about 2 weeks worth of travel, which might sound just crazy, but I do a full breakdown over my second channel how it went. And it was really fun. 2 full sessions of going and doing a bunch of different stuff, running across a crazy owlbear situation. Anyway, those things, instead of just being like exhaustion, constitution saving throws for exhaustion. Oh my goodness. And it should be very one-dimensional. Check out my exhaustion video. I'll put that in the description too. But I think this is another setting, another tool for us Dungeon Masters to be able to throw at our players to where, yeah, maybe that's this really hard journey and trek and they lose they gain a level of exhaustion, or they are getting hurt and hit a whole bunch and it's hard for them to recover from all this extended travel because they've taken so much damage. That might be better represented by mechanics with a hit dice reduction. So now those 3 hit dice get reduced down to 2. And that's now a little bit more scary during all these different rests and times where they can recover their hit dice and spend them. They only have 2 to do it. And if it happens again, you only have 1 hit dice. If it happens again, everybody's got to kind of work together to be able to heal this person up. Maybe some medicine checks, maybe time spent, who knows? So I hope you like all these variants and you can take this big picture of what I'm trying to show you guys of not my system, but our system. Yes, I'm going to tell you the options and tweaks and changes that I run with because I think that's helpful. But I also want to throw out a bunch of different mechanics that I may or may not use myself, but it's not about me. It's about you guys and figuring out the best system to feel the best at your table. I hope that does it. I hope Alkander's Almanac can do that, not just for rest, but for so many other things. Check out that link down in the description. Check out the Patreon if you love what I do here. I really am trying to do this full time and really go for this thing. The book's going to help with that. Becoming a patron helps with that. Lots of different stuff. So until next time, stay creative. Think outside the box. Peace.